There's so many do's and don'ts in Feng Shui. Can I move my chair and face another direction? If you adjust the chair and you get Toto, I'll be adjusting my own chair. You could be quite vulnerable to a scam. I should never really go and question my Feng Shui masters. If not, this is a black magic might befall or me.
Do they then deserve to kena scammed by the fake Feng Shui master?
The client kind of pissed me off. I don't draw this talisman here. Welcome to the next thing. This is Daryl.
This is Vic.
And today we have a very, very special guest with us in the studio. He's none other than Mark Tan from Way Fengshui. So Mark, maybe you can let our audience know a bit more about yourself and what you do.
Hello, I am Mark Tan from Way Fengshui Group. I'm one of the Feng Shui masters in my company. So my father started this business. I've been running it the last 10 years.
So we are like in our 30s. And then we grew up listening to a lot of do's and don'ts from our parents. Most of them maybe are like hearsays. Since we have Master Mark with us here today, we're going to do this for you guys. We're going to debunk this myth for you.
Okay, so one of the first myths that we would like to debunk, the myth of the $1 Singapore coin, right, being a Bagua that we had to carry around.
My father always told me that there's this really famous monk and Feng Shui master called Hong Chuan Fa Si. Hong Chuan Fa Si used to take care of the Feng Shui of Singapore. And then this was his idea for all of us to carry a Bagua because of the MRT track that was coming up. Maybe there is some truth to it.
So is it better just to err on the side of caution and just carry it just in case it's...
I mean, like, it's always good to give yourself some extra help in every area that we can. And if this is a functional thing that we can carry around, then I would say why not. But we are also past the phase where we are digging very deep, comprehensively all around Singapore already. So I don't think we still need that coin as much as back then. Because in Feng Shui, when you dig underground, it's supposed to disturb the dragon's vein. And when you disturb the dragon's vein, then you can cause a lot of unseen circumstances to happen. For precaution, maybe at that time is needed. Now, I don't think it's as needed as back then.
Have we angered the dragon enough already?
I think we have appeased it already.
That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like we angered the dragon so much that we have no hope. Like, now we live in such a cashless society, right? I barely carry a wallet, let alone coins anywhere.
So when we move towards the digital age, if Singapore ever comes up with a digital coin, it's probably in the hexagon.
I don't know. This one really depends on... I mean, every term of government has someone else in charge, right? And then a whole team of people. So it really depends on, during that time, whether they feel there's a need.
Maybe we could talk a bit about the architecture of Singapore, like certain buildings that have Feng Shui elements.
I mean, in Singapore, Feng Shui has always been something that people considered quite a lot, especially if they're developers putting a lot of money into a new area where they are worried about the Feng Shui. So one of the projects that we did is called dual residences. Everybody knew that, oh, that piece of land kind of has bad energy. That's why the developers came to us and say, hey, we need you guys to see if there's anything that we should watch out for as we are building these buildings. So if there's no harm in consulting a Feng Shui masters, a lot of people will do it. The natural landscape of Singapore makes us less vulnerable to bad Feng Shui because we are a very flat piece of land. You are usually more worried about Feng Shui when you have very undulating ground or you have a lot of houses that are very close to each other. Yeah.
Speaking of dual residences, the main reason for that, was it because of the gateway?
So like, it started with gateway, right? I mean, the intention of building gateway was really good. It's supposed to create a gateway to the rest of the world and welcome the world with open arms. So I think the architecture is brilliant. I mean, the idea is brilliant. But I mean, from a Feng Shui point of view, it's like two swords pointing at you, right? If you're not in that vicinity, it doesn't bother you. But if you're going to build a building there, I mean, it will be in the back of mind. From a Feng Shui point of view, it's not the shape per se, but it is the narrow gap between the two buildings that creates a lot of excessive sa qi. Then we have to see how we can manage this energy. The idea we had at the time was to create a big open space in between so we can collect the good energy that comes in. Now you see the dual residences is built in two buildings with a big atrium in the center to garner the good energy so it stays and slowly flow out.
And even before dual residence, there was that Gotham looking building, right? Yes. There are like these guardians like holding a globe, and those are supposed to be the guardians protecting the area from the sa qi that you were talking about.
Yes, I think the initial consideration was that if you're going to build something across from gateway, you would definitely think about, oh, is this energy gonna harm me? Is there anything we can do? Coincidentally, that building is also our client. So we have dual residences and Parkview as our client. So when we redesign the whole space, we also design more round objects. I don't know if you go down and take a look, there's more round open spaces. There's a big sphere over there. And these are all with Feng Shui intent. And then we added a few sculptures around there. So if you ever have time to go and take a look, really pay attention to the details of the area. I was very heavily involved in that project, so I know how much Feng Shui was put into that place.
Are there any insider secrets that you can...
So the atrium is built with the intention of collecting good energy. So Feng Shui is all about finding a source of good energy, letting it reside in a space before letting it flow out slowly. It's all about creating a very comfortable flow. But in Feng Shui, we have many formulas that tells you if you open up in this area is very good, if you open up in that area is very bad. So we had to choose a very good opening, right? So now that we have redesigned this whole space, actually in the atrium area, if you stay there, it's very comfortable now. As opposed to before, where it was just an open piece of land, like even the grass there was a different color. So now they don't have this concerns anymore. Sitting there actually could be good for you, especially in the selected year or if you sit against a certain direction.
Okay, so we're buying Toto, right?
Right, I
We're gonna
was
sit
just
there
going
and then
down
contemplate.
I mean, if we see the offices there, I think they're doing quite well in that area.
I remember the good energy at the atrium.
Another significant piece of architecture in Singapore is Suntec City, right? And the Fountain of Wealth. From what we heard, right, once the water turns off, right, the business in the mall goes kind of bad.
I mean, we know the people who design the Feng Shui of their buildings, and it's designed to be like a palm with a fountain of wealth in the center. So when you design things as a palm, is to create a space where energy can reside and flow. And when you don't have the fountain, it becomes stale energy. And when the stale energy is not good for Feng Shui, which is why you needed a big fountain in the center to gather the energy and make sure there's activity. If you don't turn on the fountain, you're creating stale energy and that's not good. So then if you extrapolate further, then you can say, oh, business might be affected if you don't have that flow of energy.
I want to verify a validity of a story I've heard from a friend who was in production that they were doing some form of filming there and they had to off the fountain for a while. It was bad enough to stop the human traffic flow from people entering the shops. And it caused alarm within like the shops, yeah, the tenants there.
I mean, that's why people pay us, right? To make sure that, you know, you link your knowledge to helping them benefit either their business or their family or their personal ambition. I cannot be 100% certain that if I do something, you will 100% make how much money. It's not chemistry. It's not like chemical A, chemical B, and you definitely get reaction C. To me, it's always, oh, we know this. We try to do as much as we can in this area and hoping that by doing the right thing, good things can happen. I'll be very honest with you. Feng Shui Masters, we are dealing with knowledge that is very ancient and very abstract, and then we're just trying our best to give you the best of our knowledge.
It kind of leads into very nicely into us understanding about what exactly then is Feng Shui.
Feng Shui first started with tombstones. They believe that when we pass on, our energy, our spirit stays with the family as well, which is why they started thinking, oh, how should we treat the deceased in the most respectful way possible. That was back in, I think, like even before the Imperial China period. It's really back in the very olden days, right? Then they started thinking, oh, we need to understand more about the environment, how does it feel comfortable, what the different directions bring different energy. And Feng Shui really started by observing the stars and the movement of the stars. It started using common sense and then you load it with more and more knowledge, understanding of flow of energy, looking at river flow, looking at how mountains are formed. So it took geology, geography, astrology, and mix them all together, and later on with architecture, with a bit of study of humans' behavior, and put them all together and become Feng Shui lah.
How did the movement of stars, right, like then translate to aligning certain things in like...
If you see the Westerners, how they name stars is very different from how we name stars, right? Like Jupiter in Chinese is called Mu Xing, it's the star of wood. Mars is called Huo Xing, so it's the star of fire. Everything around us is linked to some kind of element. Trees are linked to wood, sun is linked to fire, water flow is linked to water. Chinese people always think about, how can we put all these things together and make sure they can live harmoniously with each other. So it's about creating that balance, right, between the 5 elements. And that's where they started linking, the stars, one is in this position, one is in that position, at this point of the year, that point of year. Of course, it affected the different climate, because as we are moving around the galaxy, we experience different climate.
Then why did you want to become a Feng Shui master?
When I went overseas to study, this is the first time in my life I felt like a foreigner. And a lot of people will start directing questions at me about my culture, which I wouldn't say if I was an expert at that time. I started becoming more and more interested. I studied political science, so I naturally understand or naturally am curious about human condition, about history, about sociology and stuff like that. And then as I was nearing graduation, I also needed to make some extra money. So then my parents offered me a way of making extra money. They said, since you're in the US and you have all this free time, why don't you write articles? And I was like, but I don't know anything. How am I supposed to write anything? They said, then you go and learn. And there was a Feng Shui school very near to my school at that time. And then I went to enroll myself in some of the free classes. I learned a bit more. I read some of the books that we publish as a company. I was doing it more. I find it more and more interesting. When I graduated, my father offered me to come back and help out, continue my job as an editor. And then I, of course, did my own research. I went around to other Feng Shui masters to learn from them. And that's where I got interested. I was like, it's actually, there's a lot of formulas. There's a lot of things that if you really put in effort to try to understand, it comes from somewhere. And then as I got more and more into it, I became more and more interested.
When you said you had to earn extra money, I thought you go out and freelance, like then do some reading for people.
I wish I had the knowledge at that time. I would be making much more money.
What kind of Caucasian folks there?
Just let them put this for good juju.
So there's masters, I've heard grandmasters as well. To all these titles within the community as like Feng Shui masters, right?
Who awards them?
Yeah, is there like a accreditation body?
There are more and more accreditation bodies. Everybody holds a different standard when they are accrediting their masters. Someone has to credit you, cannot credit yourself. They could be crediting you based on different criteria, but you cannot say I from today on is a grandmaster and everybody has to address me as grandmaster. In our company, we are all accredited by the International Feng Shui Association. And then that is the standard we go by. But I cannot speak for all Feng Shui masters lah. I mean, like, there are different accreditation bodies. I wouldn't know all of them. But in Singapore, I would say the International Feng Shui Association is very well established, and it's something that we chose to follow.
Will there be a certificate in the office?
I mean, there's a website where you can go and check against whether these people are conferred the title, how long have they been conferred. There's a whole testing process for you to go through. You have to submit papers, you have to submit your findings, and then sometimes they might even invite you to appear in front of a panel to explain your case.
A bit like CA registry, but like next level.
Literally, I was thinking about a CA registry. Because like we read in the news, you see like there are rental scams. But then there's always the CA website where you can check whether your agent is a real valid agent, right, with a license. In the world of Feng Shui, right?
Yes, there's also something like that.
Yeah, so maybe an advice to our audiences. Just how should we go about selecting our Feng Shui master? That's like maybe the part 1. And then part 2 is like how to know whether he is like really legit master or he just wake up one day and feel like he's a master.
If you have a Feng Shui master that tells you that, I'm a grandmaster, and you ask him some more and he isn't able to give you like a common sense answer, then I think that you should be a bit worried. Just like how you judge everyone in every industry, we should always use our common sense. If someone tells you that I am very good at what I do, but they cannot present the evidence, they cannot present their portfolio, or they cannot even meaningfully talk about any of the projects, then I think you have to be a bit careful. I'm sure, regardless of the industry, you have people who are very boastful and say, I've done all these things, I make so much money. It's up to us whether we want to believe them. And if we don't, then we have to question them some more and see whether they actually are able to answer. If they cannot, then obviously you shouldn't trust them.
But that's the issue, right? We say common sense, but actually a lot of people don't even have common sense. Like, do they then deserve to kena scammed by the fake Feng Shui master?
Feng Shui is a bit more sensitive because people feel like, I should never really go and question my Feng Shui masters. If not, I might be upsetting the force or this black magic might befall on me to me, I think that Feng Shui should be treated as every industry is out there. There's no force or black magic that a Feng Shui master can cast on you. A Feng Shui master is supposed to come in, adjust your space, make it comfortable for you to live in there so you can be at your productive best. That's all we should be doing. If there is any black magic or any force, I think that goes beyond Feng Shui already.
You're not gonna
honestly.
hex it, you know.
Exactly. It's like, oh,
Yeah, maybe the client kind of pissed me off. I'm going to draw this talisman here.
Yeah. Give you
I
the
think that
plastic
is really
crystal.
beyond Feng Shui already.
So what sort of tests does a Feng Shui master do? And maybe could you talk us through like what are some of the preparations, like studying and all that?
I think first of all, when you go and apply to be a Feng Shui master, they are first of all testing you for your knowledge. I think in the International Feng Shui Association, they expect you to present a case, explain your methods, and also verify, that you know everything. So when you submit your papers, there will be a panel of Feng Shui masters who are all reading your papers, and then they will point out where they think is good and where they think is bad and give you a grading. And in the paper itself, say for example, I'm using a method. You write the whole method inside. If you are wrong, someone would know you're wrong. Or maybe I wouldn't say wrong, maybe you're different on purpose, then you have to explain your rationale. Why are you different from other people when it comes to practicing this formula that a lot of the Feng Shui masters are using? When you are challenged and you feel like, oh, I want to present my case, then this is when you can appear in front of a panel to present your case and say, oh, I have done so and so projects, I've always used this method, and this is the feedback from my clients.
It kind of feels like Feng Shui court. Like you get challenged and then you have to.
Sometimes they would also look at the reputation of your company. If you are a reputable company, if you have been getting a lot of complaints, they want to look at feedback from your clients and stuff like that. So it's really quite a rigid procedure that you have to go through in order to get certified.
If a company or a Feng Shui master does not have this accreditation, right? Does that mean they are not proper?
This is not something that you...
It's not mandated lah.
Yeah, you have to have in order to practice. So I would say it's a good to have. So some people may not be able to explain themselves so well, but they have been doing it for so many years. I mean, one of the things you want to look out for is also how long they have been doing this and what's their caseload, what's the feedback of their clients, right? Which is why a lot of Feng Shui masters, they get their source of business from referrals, from friends who recommend friends and stuff like that. Most of the time, because there's no standard to go by, you will be very careful about engaging with Feng Shui masters, paying them a lot of money when you don't know anything about them. So just don't do that, lor. Like I say, common sense, right? Ask amongst your friends, what service have you used? Have you used this company? Ask them for, hey, can I see your performance feedback and stuff like that? Go on their Google review.
Show me your bank account balance before
Exactly.
and after.
Yeah,
Show me your company's P&L.
You can.
This has struck a question in me right now. Is there this notion of a yuanfen with a Feng Shui master?
I think so. I mean, we have different Feng Shui masters in our company, right? Some clients, they would switch around the different Feng Shui masters and find who they get along with. Sometimes it's a feeling, right? Some people you just like, some people you just don't like. For Feng Shui masters, it's the same. Some clients I just like, some clients I just, okay, I'll do the job, A lot of times this affinity is very hard to explain. I guess there are some people that you put in a bit more effort to help. There are some people that you really, really wouldn't question and you would really wholeheartedly follow their advice.
Especially in this day and age, you want instant gratification. If I move my chair in a certain angle or I place it in a certain position, right, I want to tio bei pio.
We have clients who came in like that. I personally would tell them that I won't be able to do that for you. If you adjust the chair and you get Toto, I'll be adjusting my own chair every day. I'll be sitting on the... I think it's unrealistic. I don't know what kind of Feng Shui masters will be out there telling you they can do it, but I must say they are very brave people. But that is not the premise of Feng Shui. The premise of Feng Shui is to be comfortable in your environment so you can perform at your best. I mean, we have different tools to look at and say, oh, maybe in a period like that, you're supposed to have a bit more, and we are supposed to make that come to you. Whatever you're supposed to have, my job is to help you get the maximum out of it. But whatever you're not supposed to have, I have no ability to give it to you as well. If you are looking for someone to just adjust a chair and one instant, good luck.
Lucky numbers.
I think to me, you could be quite vulnerable to a scam. There will be people who tell you that they can do it, You pay them a bunch of money, and so what if it doesn't happen? It doesn't affect them. What?
After we establish all this, right, what should a feng shui master have, or like, you know, the perspective of?
First of all, they should know how to explain to you what they are trying to do for you. I mean, you wouldn't hire a doctor nowadays without this doctor at least explaining to you why they need to treat you for certain thing, why you need to be on certain medication, or why do you need to pay so much for all these tests, right? A feng shui master should be able to explain themselves also. You know, like why I want you to buy a certain kind of house, why do I want you to add a bit more energy over here. I also think that if someone is always communicating with you or always easy to reach out to, then you don't have to be worried. The worst thing is you pay them all this money and then you find it very, very hard to reach them. Feng Shui to me should be a partnership, right? Once you become my client, we should always be working together, and if you have any issues staying in this house, I should always be there to help you fix your problem. Oh, should we do this? Should we do that? Because there's so many do's and don'ts in Feng Shui that people are very worried. Oh, can I move my chair and face another direction? Or I want to change a different color in my house, can I do that? If you don't have people who are answering all these questions, if you're Feng Shui masters, you know, every time you pick up a phone and want to talk to him, he will charge you an arm and a leg, then I think you're gonna be a bit more careful lah. We have seen cases where they move house and they felt like everything went wrong.
Can you help me confirm whether I was being made a fool or?
Where is the money coming in from? I don't want to pay you until I see results. Actually, don't need lah. You don't need to do all these things. We want some conflict energy to happen.
We should find more, guys.
My dog keeps falling sick. I think I need to change my dog's feng shui.
It's not receiving any sunlight even on a bright day itself. Just walking in there makes me a bit uncomfortable.